Hi, today I wanted to speak about the topic of self realization and enlightenment and the diverse perspectives, or a few diverse perspectives, that are present up to this day, and which I believe that people are being too gentle and not, aggressively criticizing, some of the versions. And I can respect that, in one sense, because I mean, each man has his own poison, right? And each person has got their own view. But when you come to the spirituality field, this is supposed to be something nuanced for people who are thinkers. And people who are thinkers are people who has to place some logic into these perspectives and don't let things go way off tangent, right? Okay, let me come to the point. Firstly, those of you who don't know me, I'm Osman, the Blind Yogi, and I am a bioenergy healer on a master level, specializing in critical care recovery and terminal illnesses, offering my healing services through remote methods using the principles of quantum physics and quantum entanglement. And I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher, having been practicing this art form of both healing and yoga now for 5 decades, which is 50 years. And yes, to some it seems like a long time, but I suppose time has to pass, right? And eventually 50 years is going to come, and there are many people who's practicing and practicing for over 5 decades, right? This The difference with me is that I was very adventurous, and I practiced various different methods, and I was very curious and didn't want to just accept something, on face value. And although I went very deep and I was very passionate about whatever I studied or whichever field, but I wanted to explore others as well. I wanted to compare it to something opposite, to another philosophy and so forth. And I started from a very young age. And so a lot of people feel that my first uh, Samadhi or self realization or enlightenment experience, which was mind blowing stuff. I mean, it knocked me unconscious, right? It's not just something, I wasn't just feeling calm or anything, right? And happened at the age of 19, but I started this around 7, 8 years old. And by the age of 10, I was doing it very scientifically and very rigorously, following books, of course, the Science of Yoga book, which was very influential, and trying to, make it, not trying to, I made it a part of my daily habit. And then, of course, 19 was just the starting point. But I looked at things not from what I studied and what I learned. I looked at things in terms of the time in which I was living. And I needed to support myself. I needed an education. I didn't feel to go off to some type of ashram and renounce, working life and be supported by the public or supported by an institution. Was something, it was not syncing with me, at the time. So I'm looking at the self-realization and enlightenment experiences from the, we'll say, from the viewpoint of the 21st century. And we're talking about now post-COVID, or the time where there's AI, right? And the advent of AI is, you suddenly have vast amounts of accurate knowledge at your, or access to a vast amounts of accurate knowledge at your fingertips. Previously we had vast amounts of knowledge, but how accurate it was, and it was depending on how we searched. With AI, they gather everything and provide a better perspective upfront. I mean, I do a deep dive on all my talks, including this one will be a deep dive. A deep dive is absolutely amazing. I embrace it fully. I am so into the AI. I am so thankful AI came, because what it's actually doing is, I'm not being threatened that my creativity is going away and so forth, but they are providing the perspective that I've given the prompt, that I want my talks to be scientific, and I want to also make it pragmatic and simplified for people to follow, and also utilizing evidences, current day evidences from the scientific field, right? And they do this very well from different angles, which I can't off the cuff remember or think of or access all this information while talking. I'm just talking naturally what I feel, and then they present it in the most spectacular way. And when I listen to both my original talks as well as the AI, I love both, right? Of course, I love the one from the AI more because it's presented more systematically. It's got the right hook. It's very well presented, very well thought out. And I would say, what would we do without AI, or what would I do without AI? But I'm looking at the holistic picture. Holistically, the AI is presenting, what I'm saying in a much better way that is going to benefit the audience much more than what my original content is going to. Because my original content depends on my accent and my style and how I'm speaking, and also some people may not like the way I may, hesitate at some points and so forth while I'm thinking. So I'm just talking like as though I'm talking to someone that I'm, talking face to face, in a natural way. The AI builds it very professionally and removes all the redundancy and presents it in a very thought provoking and also a very compelling way, right? And there's always a theme behind it which they extract and present it very amazingly. So if we cannot adapt, I one of my first teachers from the Divine Life Society, Swami Sivananda, from his teachings, he says to be happy and to be successful, you have to learn the art of adaptability. And this I learned in my childhood, right? I was about 10 or 11 years old. And I always remember that. So AI is come and people are feeling threatened. There was another podcast I listened to, and they're talking about the next 6 years, is going to be really horrendous with all the changes, and people who are creators are going to struggle because they're going to be threatened, and AI is going to be better than them, and they're not going to be able to be better than the AI. But okay, I mean, welcome to AI if they're going to be better, right? We want what is good. But it's not going to stop me from giving my experience. No, AI is not a human. It does not have experiential knowledge. I've got experience, vast amounts of not only my own personal experience, but experience from, of students from thousands of students from over 100 countries. I don't know whether it's millions, but definitely thousands and thousands of students, right? So vast amount, and over a long period of time during different eras, right? I mean, I'm from South Africa and born at a time and grew up, where there was no television, right? And we used to enact plays, on the weekend in the night as entertainment for the family, with our cousins. When we get together, cousins will create a play, and we used to just draw the basic guideline what the play is going to be about, but we just start talking and let it come up naturally. And the parents used to watch and they get amazed, and we used to listen to the radio, a serial on the radio, coming from those times, right? So many different eras to where we've come now. There's a lot of changes. So this thing of self-realization was inspired by a podcast. I was listening to this. It's a 45-minute podcast. It was on YouTube. And it was this amazing, lovely Indian lady, probably a young lady, because she was recounting her experience from her childhood, from the time she was around 7 or 8 years old, that she was very interested in knowing, who is God, and she wants to meet God and talk to God. And it really resonated with me because I was around 5 or 6 years old, I remember, and I recall, and I was thinking, you know, there is a God that created us, right? And or created the world. It's my belief at that time, right? Which I still believe up to this stage, but I understand not many people believe in that way of thinking. So respect, to your ideology and so forth. But I never not believed that there's a God. And I said, hey, everyone is so interested about so many things, but why isn't a lot of people talking about the most important thing? Someone that created us and someone that created everything. Where is he? Who is he? How come he's in hiding? Is he hiding? And isn't this? It's good to find him, and have a talk with him. I mean, why did he create us? Why did he create everything? And I mean, if you are so amazing, let's learn some stuff from this guy, right? Which I was thinking in my mind. I said, I have to find who, I had a passionate, burning desire. So the one thing is, I want to meet this person who created me, who was supposed to be face to face. I never had a doubt that there is no God. Never. So, of course, when you go into school and you got your, especially you go into high school and you're becoming teenage, 15, 16, and people are starting to become thinkers, and you get some people say there's no God. If there's a God, where is he? Show him, right? That everything happened with the Big Bang and everything happened, by automatically and through evolution, and there isn't any intelligent being or persona behind this. For me, it was like I could not believe that someone could think that way. Okay, I mean, the argument is if there is, so who is he? Where is he? What does he look like? Is he a man, woman? What it is, right? So that was a very big search, a very big part of my search. And listening to this podcast of this young lady, she had the similar questions, and it was a burning thing and a burning desire, and could really resonate. And she was going through all the experiences and rejecting all the philosophies. And there were some gurus that she encountered, and she didn't want to accept any guru. A sister was directing her, go to this guru, he will initiate, or you can ask him questions and he will tell you. She says, no, 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 I don't want to go to any, I want to speak to God directly. I don't need no guru. I want to be directly with God and so forth, right? Then she started to get inclined to some of the philosophies that were surrounding her, and they were like worship, temple worship and so forth that she was attending. And then she started to communicate in her mind, right? And it was very interesting for the first 30 minutes. And then she's now, I think, in her early, around 20 years old or so, right? 70 to 20 years old. And she has this profound experience when she was alone at home once. And she experienced, we'd say, the bliss and out of body experience and a blissful experience and an awareness of what she thought, that because she was speaking to herself, she said, this is what God is. God is all pervading, is everywhere, and he's full of love and forgiveness, because she was connected to that. And I could relate, because when I experienced enlightenment, I went into, extreme ecstatic bliss. But it was so extreme, it was power overload, that it always knocked me unconscious, always, right? Because yes, I was conscious for a while, the first few seconds of it, and I remember those seconds, and then collapsing from sheer overload, of that bliss. And we can relate it to what we call Sachidananda, which she herself says that is what she felt as well, Sachidananda. But she experienced it out of body, so she was not in a body, which means her body didn't have to collapse because she was not in a body. So it was not, she didn't feel, there wasn't that connect with the body for her to feel that overload in the nervous system and the brain, right? She was out of body, so she could experience it, from out. And of course, I had out of body experiences, multiple, all kinds of experiences, right? So many different types of samadhis and so many different types of mystical experiences over the decades, that came past. And she then says, no, now at the 30-minute part of the discussion, I was really taken aback with what you were saying, and I was really getting moved, and I was going until she mentioned the one thing that made me switch that show off immediately. She said, no, now I know that the self is God. We are God. Because she felt she is one with everything, and with that which is pervading everything, that she is God. That's where, like, the record comes to screeching halt. It's like you scratch the record, and I mean, I'm coming from the similar experience. At no stage during those experiences, multiple experiences at varying degrees of it, did I ever think I am God. So let's test that idea. So maybe I'm just being biased, right? Maybe. Or maybe my philosophy is a dualistic philosophy, right? And there is dual and non-dual, right? Non-dual believes that there isn't the duality, that you become one. It's the classic story of the salt doll, right? It goes into the ocean and becomes the ocean, right? They always recount the story, the non-dualists. And me, clearly, I'm a dualist, right? So let me present this argument, right? Let's talk logically from the lens of the AI era, right? So you are God, and you came back. After that, you experience your God. You know that the self is God. You came back to your body because now you're giving this podcast. So this God that you think that you are, so happens you forgot how to bring the dead back to life. You forgot the art of making the blind to see. You forgot how to make the lame to walk. You forgot how to heal incurable, illnesses miraculously and instantly. You forgot how to walk on water, right? So is what version of God are you? Are you one of the 33 million, some people say 33 million gods, or the 330 million gods, and some of the versions can't do some things and you're a different version of it? What is this? In the lens of the 21st century, we don't talk that way. We don't say I am God. We can say, okay, there's two possibilities. Let's look at the two possibilities, right? One possibility is that you, like the salt doll, that you became merged with it, that you didn't conceive of the difference between you and the entire energy of the entire universe, right? So I went into the Samadhi state and I felt like I'm part of a plasma. The energy is like a plasma, like an ocean of plasma that is covering everything that exists, and I'm part of it. But I still felt me, right? So this is called Sabikalpi Samadhi, where there is a difference between the identity of me and that in which you are submersed in initially, and eventually you lose the identity of me, right? Which I also went in. I lose it, and then when I came back, at no stage I felt that, hey, I became one and I was God, and now I'm not God. I mean, where's the logic in that, right? This is, I mean, some people are going to get, probably, angry about this. I mean, when I mentioned in one of my previous, videos that, in my opinion, from what I've read in the English language, right, because we're reading now in the 21st century, we're not there in the time over 2000 years ago, the actual words and the context and all that, right? So I give that. But going with what we have, right? This is scientific. We go with what we have, what evidences we have. So we hear very often the Buddha says that, he had not experienced any separate entity, a God entity, right? That's what I believe. Because from what I studied in Buddhism, he never say there is no God, in my opinion. And in my opinion, he said that I never experienced a separate entity or a God entity. I couldn't find any God entity. So if you couldn't find any God entity, that's the way you speak. You don't say there is no God or that I am God. I became one with everything. Yes, I experience a very high, like what I would say, I experience a high level. If I experience it and I can recount it, means my mind experienced it. I put it within the framework of a finite entity, my mind. So something which is beyond my mind. So I can't be so great as to say I am the greatest creation on this planet. The mountain is greater than me. There's so many things. The ant colony is greater than us. And I very strongly believe that the plant and animal kingdom is superior to the humans, right? That's my belief. Okay, let me just tell you why, right? Because I don't want to just put something out there and not say why, right? I was speaking to someone recently and I said, we are thinking we are superior to the animal, but the plant and animal kingdom don't break the rules of nature. They all do what they're supposed to be doing. Humans are the only one not doing what they're supposed to be doing, always breaking the rules and regulations. They are destroying, bringing about things that are destroying the ecosystem, creating wars and creating suffering. And we say, if there's a God, why is there so much of suffering? Did God come and do the genocide? Did God come and declare war? What is the point of God giving free will and not allowing the people to do what they want? But what people don't know, once you have an expanded consciousness, then you don't know what is real and what is not real. Because when you everyone goes into sleep and goes into dream, right? When you're dreaming, you feel the dream is very real, vivid, right? And when you are awake, you feel this is very real and very awake. But you say this is real because there's a yesterday and there's a history behind it. But in your dream, there's a history also there. You didn't suddenly appear as an isolated entity without a past. You got a past, and there's no way that you just appeared suddenly without any history behind you. There's a history there as well, and there's a context, and there's a situation, and you also have a job or an identity. You even have a name, and there's lots of things there. So we don't. So now with the psychedelic experiences being exposed, especially with the milder forms like mushrooms and so forth, in places where they are legal and where people experiment, and also in the laboratories where they are, experimenting with them, legally and scientifically under scientific conditions. So they feel some of these higher dimensions that you ascend, and some go to lower dimensions, right? Not that seems more real than what this is, right? So are we really killing? So everyone knows scientifically when we die that it doesn't end with the body, because there's so many NDEs documented, right, by doctors in the doctor, the Swedish doctor, I forget her name now, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, right? And she documented over 20,000 NDEs, right? And I studied this when I was in the few years that I was in medical school. And for us to understand, how to empathize with those who's lost loved ones, right? And to console that it doesn't end. But after that incident till now, there's been so many NDEs. And when you're just saying, even a person who is crippled or cannot see, suddenly you are fully functional then. That you feel that is your real body and this is just a temporary body, that you are. occupying, and that is now no longer able to maintain your true self that is occupying. So it's similar to like a movie drama, right? So you can kill the person. Did you really? You can't kill the soul. So you get things like in the, since it's a spirituality channel, we can bring about certain philosophies. So never, in the Bhagavad Gita it says, never a time did you not exist, nor will there be a time that you will stop existing. Right? That is who you are. So this thing that we're experiencing as a battle and as a pain and so forth, it's similar to like a movie creation. We don't ask, why did Steven Spielberg, why is he not in prison? He killed so many people in his movies. See, no, that is a movie. He's not really dead. They're just acting it. It just looks very real. And then after that, they are normal. So how come we're not considering that this world is not a similar type of drama that we're going to wake up from? Because you awakening experience, enlightenment experience, is you come to a realization that this experiences that we're having is like a drama and a play, and it is something for you to grow as a person, as an individual, and to evolve, you know. And a lot of people say we are not this meat soup, right? And I disagree with that. I believe that the human body is part of who you are, and is because I believe in that we should evolve to a level in the future where we will all understand the science of transforming our body to the deathless body, right? Because there's been Maha Avatar Babaji, and there has been Vallalar, or the South Indian saint Ramalinga Swamigal, that had, supposedly, the deathless body, that the physical body got transformed. And we have the historic figure that no one, there's so much of historical and scientific evidences that Jesus went up to the heavens with his body, right? It didn't just disappear into thin. In front of everyone, he ascended, right? Some people don't believe that really happened and so forth. But there is, if we go deeper and deeper, and there's this sages, Agastya, and people meeting the rishis, that did not die, and they still in their bodies, and in all cultures, right? Like there is even in certain sects of the Islamic culture as well, that the 12th Imam, in the Shia culture, that he didn't die, and he still, and people saw him. And there's a lot of accounts, that he's living now like 1,200 years, and he still look like a 30-year-old man and so forth, right? And so forth, the claims, we'll just say claims. We haven't, physically, scientifically met with these people and put them under a microscope, right? So which is what we need to do, in order to accept. So these are anecdotal or beliefs and accounts, and there's so many accounts. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So we won't say there isn't such a thing. And from my knowledge, we especially of Kriya Yoga as taught by Yogananda, the goal is to evolve the brain, right? And the brain, within the brain, right in the center of the brain, there is a subtle a subtle energy center called the Agna Chakra, or commonly known as the third eye. It's not physically in the forehead region. It is physically right in the center where the pineal gland is, right? But it's perceived from the front because you got a connection from the front, right? So it's got an end point. There is nerve endings that go there, right? And of course, I've experienced the opening of the third eye as well. And it is not in the physical body. It is, I felt it was an out-of-body experience when I experienced it, right? So coming back to the story of the self-realization, right? A lot of people keep saying, no, the self is Brahman. There is no separate entity, no separate Brahman. It's rather say we couldn't figure it out. We couldn't figure out what is the separate Brahman. We experienced something that was mind-blowing, that we felt we were one with everything. maybe this is God. But if you felt it and you was able to recount it, means you felt it in either your intelligence or your brain or your mind within something that is finite. So means your brain is so vast that it is infinite in nature, that it could encapsulate that which is infinite, right? Okay, I give that argument. It encapsulated and you experience and you talking from that. Then suddenly you forgot to walk on water. You forgot to heal the sick. So, okay, there's some perspectives, the Islamic perspective, they say it is Jesus is just a prophet, he is not God and so forth. But in the Bible, Jesus say he and the Father, me and the Father are one. And also, I think I'm just paraphrasing, right? Not the exact verses, exact words, right? Not the original, words of the Bible. And we don't know what the real original was because they recreated the Bible as well. But I believe it is a holy book, and it says a lot, that one has to think about, because there's a following of over 2 billion people, right? And this is over 2,000 years. So we can't just say that this is, fake or lies or something, right? So, okay, they said there is a father figure, right? Something superior to what Jesus is. And whom did he worship, right? Okay, let's take it there. Then we also get the other perspective that the prophets are intercessors. They intercede on behalf, because there's no way to the Lord through, like Jesus says, there's no way to the Father except through me, right? And maybe he mentioned it from his perspective as him being the prophet of the time, and there were other prophets like Moses, Abraham, and and so forth, right? And Noah and so forth, and they were the prophets of their time, and they were followers of those prophets. And if it wasn't for the prophets, how are you going to know about all these things, right? So we can also come from an intercession point of view that, okay, but you experience what is they showed what is the miraculous power of God. They exhibited some type of miracles, some of them, right? That is mind-blowing stuff. And then you say the self is God, and I experience that now I am God. And I came back. I mean, come on, right? So I get the people who are dualists. Let's say the Buddhist philosophy. They said when they go in, they don't experience any other separate entity as God, right? So they went in. So why don't they say I couldn't find, or he didn't reveal himself to me, or I went so long and this thing? Because there are others that said no, I spoke. Moses spoke to God. He heard the voice of God, right? The prophets spoke, and they spoke to not to themselves. Maybe they were hallucinating. So are these people psychotic? Then why are they got millions and billions of followers if they are psychotic? Who are they talking? Who are they asking, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? Who is he talking to himself, right? And talking, so why will they talk like that? Say, why didn't Jesus rather say, I forgive you? He's asking, of course, he's saying through him, I don't want to go into dissonance with the religious beliefs, right? Although it seems I'm going into dissonance with the non-dual and the Buddhist philosophy, it seems that way. But I'm asking from the 21st century perspective. When someone says, okay, let's say there is no God concept, because everyone believes that God is beyond the conception of the mind, that to say there is no God is closer to the truth than to say there's a persona God, because it is so vast and beyond explanation, beyond conceivability. It's closer to the truth to say non-existent, because the word existence already put it into some type of parameters, right? And beyond the parameters is beyond. So we are actually juggling with words, existence, non-existence. But I'm coming from the dual nature that God is separate, and someone who says, I'm self-realized that I am Brahman, I'm one, I become God, and worship me, right? As a normal person coming on YouTube, right? And if Jesus I don't know any in the Bible where he said, worship me, right? But he says, me and the Father are one. There's no, you can't go the kingdom of heaven but through me, right? So you can ask, and people ask him, right? And they talk to him, and he's alive, right? People say when they pray, their prayers get answered, right? So they talking to some, and then the person says, I'm self-realized, and I am Brahman, I am God, and come back and recounting this thing, and that's how I know I am God. I mean, come on, right? This is not something that we can readily give some proper argument that we in the 21st century with AI present can understand, that the AI also can understand. If I ask a question to AI, they say, no, this is something that different belief systems and different perspectives. So AI speaks very diplomatically, right? But that's why we are the discerning people. So I'm presenting this argument from someone who's experienced multiple samadhis and different kinds of samadhis. There are so many, theoretically there are 32 different kinds of samadhis. So I've experienced many kinds. There are some that I go into, and I don't want to study the 32 kinds of samadhis and, I just like off the cuff try to think, some of the different experiences that I have. Like you go into, you lose your total, you don't know, yourself anymore, right? When you open your eyes, there's a blank in time. You went into silence, into a space that is beyond time, right? Beyond the mind and beyond the intelligence, because there is no presence of the mind to experience, or the intellect or the brain to perceive. You went beyond that stage and beyond time into and everyone goes into this in deep sleep, right? You go into deep sleep, no thought state, right? So also you reach the breathless state in meditation, right? The level of the breathless state, the heart stops beating, the breathing stops, and so forth. It's a type of samadhi. Samadhi means death, right? Cessation. So let's talk instead of talking very broadly, a very universally accepted persona in the yoga field that is respected to this day is Patanjali with the Yoga Sutras. And he says in the Sanskrit, Chitta Vritti Nirodhana. Chitta is that which we call consciousness, existence, that which we experience, the pure consciousness, right? And Chitta Vritti is the impressions. So we are pure consciousness. Our soul is of the nature of pure consciousness, is the better way to put it. Because I'm not going to put myself in the trap. I said I'm consciousness, and that is what is God, right? God is also because God is of the same nature. And we, the soul, are finite and also fallible. God, principle, by definition, because that's why we use the word God. And firstly, the definition, the word God only came about 400 years after the death of Christ, right? From the German language, there's no word God before, that was recorded before 400 years after Christ, right? Just to give perspective. So, but we understand what it means. It means someone all powerful, right? So is of the existence, consciousness, pure consciousness, which is infinite, we are finite, and infallible, and we are fallible. All powerful, we're not all powerful, can create multiple universes and galaxies, which, I mean, the astronomers who are looking with these telescopes and looking at the universes and looking at other galaxies, and how they've even identified potential organic matter, right, scientifically, right, because they're able to see into beyond the Milky Way, beyond our galaxy right now with the telescope, and they identify, and they've got scientific ways to identify which atoms, because they're able to identify the atom just from the wave that it exhibits. So science is getting very advanced. We only from the Milky Way starting to see the outskirts that is just slightly beyond the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is just one galaxy within our universe. There's so many multiverses, there's black holes, and it's like mind blowing the creation, right? So we attribute hypothetically, right, and theoretically it makes sense in science to say that that which created this which is so vast would definitely be, if we can't understand how our universe works, how are we going to understand that which created it? Because there must be intelligence behind it, right? So that intelligence which is inconceivable, right? I like to use that word. My definition is God is inconceivable, right? And that we are not God. I am not Brahman. You are not. Self is not. So people should stop saying I am Brahman. Say dual and non-dual. When you go to non-dual, many people relinquish the body and they say it's temporary. Okay, you want to relinquish it from good luck. And if you don't want to relinquish it, eventually you're going to die. You're forced to relinquish it. But my theory is that we are still evolving and where we don't need to relinquish it. And there is a theory as well, especially amongst the Judeo-Christian, the Abrahamic religions, that there's going to be a day when all the dead will be resurrected. So even if they are made into dust, right? They can be recompiled again back into an adult form. So if the person died as a child, this is theoretical, right? So he will be resurrected as an adult and there will be a judgment and you will be judged and go, and judge according to that theory, right? Which the Judeo-Christians, believe in, which I also believe. I'm not going to say that I don't want to not disclose my beliefs as well, but I don't push it forward, right? Because this is not the platform. Yoga is not the platform to push a particular religion. It is designed as a scientific model that can be adopted irrespective of what your belief is. Whether you believe in a God, don't believe, whether you're an atheist, you believe in, believe in satanic rituals, or you believe in whatever you believe in, that doesn't matter. This is just like you're learning mathematics and you're learning, jogging, you're learning how to cycle. It's got nothing to do, with your belief system. And it's here to enhance your evolution, fast forward your evolution, and to find a way to a scientific way that is duplicable in creating the deathless body, that you solve the problem of death and that you become multidimensional awareness and existence at the same time, but still retain your individual identity, right? So this is my perspective behind it, and I am really pushing back heavily against those that say the self is Brahman, and then automatically it's not logical in my perspective that the Brahman forgot. But if someone like Jesus says, even himself he doesn't say I'm the Supreme Father. He just says, through me you can attain. He attributes someone or some entity higher than him, because yes, he's got powers that the regular person does not have. So a lot of yoga people will push back and say, hey, the yogis are very advanced, they can do more than what Jesus did. Okay, present the evidence, present it. Who? What can he do? Who's walking on water? Who bringing the dead back to life? They say this person brought the dead back to life, and so okay, present it, let it be. Get a following, get 2 billion people following that person, right? But this is not. They claim many people were God. Like we can mention some names. Like there were the saintly figures, Ramana Maharishi, right? For example, I said he is God, but how many billions is following him, right? And we have to also look at that. So could an entity who is God or one with God come and fail to attract the masses? So The unpopular version of God, or the shy, is that the shy God, right? So I mean, come on, right? So let's not go. Let's rather speak logically in a 21st century perspective, and let's all agree that that which is so powerful, which created, there is an intelligence which is inconceivable for now, we have to say. And we, from a scientific community and this thing, we are investigating and striving towards understanding that and researching and exploring. This is why there's exploration. This is why there is science, to explore and not accept. So, yes, there is the unknown. The science accepts there's the unknown. Let it be part of the unknown. But don't say you are the unknown, right? And that leads, then why are we exploring? Stop the exploring, leave the telescopes, leave the Hubble telescope. Let's go to this woman who created this podcast, right? This young Indian woman. Let's go. She's God. She believed that she is Brahman. She'll give all the answers. We can talk to God, talk to her again. Say, okay, you went into that, go back into that state, right? And answer all the questions, right? Solve the mathematical problems of the black hole, right? And there's a lot of questions to be answered, right? How can we attain the deathless body? So they say no, if death has to come to everyone. And I believe that, I mean, a lot of people believe because that's what we're seeing, but does it mean we have to accept that? Because there are the anomalies, people that attain the deathlessness, right, or claim to attain. There is the suspicion. So I believe that this theory is a true theory, that it is possible, right? So I'm still using the word believe. I'm not saying 100%. And that's what I've been striving. And I believe I created the protocol. Whether I will attain it through my protocol, I don't know. I don't consider myself to be the wisest amongst the people. In fact, the least wisest. And there are other people more disciplined than me that if they follow my protocol, because I've spent times taking ways to shorten and make it easier, for both the beginners and advanced people, that the advanced people can potentially come closer to it and, attain it. When you attain, those that attain the deathless body don't disappear on us. So the South Indian saint Vallalar, who supposedly attained the deathless body, disappeared on us. And they said that he said we are not ready for the information that he has. People still needs to evolve a little further. I mean, come on. That's a lame excuse. Find a way. You're so evolved intellectual. Find a way to make us understand. Don't say we're not yet ready. Find a way. We can explain the most complex thing in a simpler way, right? Find a simpler way. I believe scientists have come quite far. So if any of you watching or listening to this, because this is an audio recording right now, for my podcast, not a video, which I'll convert to a video format for those. And the reason I convert my audios to videos is because some people don't want to go on the podcast platform. They are more comfortable on the YouTube platform. Or they, want to access it, through a blog platform, or they want to access it through, a book platform. So that's why I'm writing my Kindle books. I've just completed my 5th book. I'm starting to, upload my next challenge. My biggest challenge was to get them completed because, as you remember, that I'm blind. I don't have anyone assisting me. I'm only using my iPhone 16 Pro Max and multiple AI. And I don't even have a big budget as well to pay, this minimal paid AI, for transcribing and Gemini and so forth, to help me creating the content. And the next challenge is uploading into Kindle. I successfully managed to register on Kindle as an update, and that was like pretty easy. And they've got so many terms and conditions, man. There's like an important stuff there that you can market your book. They got some free marketing, that 5 days, you got 5 sets of 5 days that within a 90-day period, you can utilize it to market your book on the Kindle platform, to, reach out to more people that, your book is published and so forth. But I'm planning on completing 1,000 books in total. And each book got its own title. The first book, I've already got the title, Awakening by Design, by the blind, by Osman the Blind Yogi, and also called a scientific yoga series, book one. I call that, right? So that the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one is going to be a scientific series, book two, book three. My goal is to reach 1,000. Why 1,000? Why go into such volumes? Why not give a clear, concise, message and present it and market that one message? Because the way things are now, you have to create so much of volume and consistency just to be heard. You have to keep saying the same thing over and over in different platforms to different levels over a long period of time, and then maybe one person will take it seriously. Because remember, I'm teaching for now 5 decades. I know how appealing this field is, right? Very few people are interested in the nuanced field of yoga and meditation and evolving themselves, and not many people are involved in self-improvement as well, right, for that matter. I was shocked recently to find that the statistic that 1 in 8 people in the US are practicing or into some form of yoga. That is like from 400 million people, that's like 32 million people. That is like mind blowing. I thought it was like 1 in 10,000. Was interested in this field from my. I didn't feel less than 1%, right? 1 in 8 is more than 10%, right? So it's like it's growing at a very fast rate, I would say, because from my experience and over the decades and so. And am I seeing a wider appeal for it? Yes. A lot of, especially the people who are between the ages of 25 and 35, seems to be. And this is really something because in the last 9 months, when I started my YouTube channel, also called Osman the Blind Yogi, I've created over 1,000 videos. And I was absolutely amazed when I look at some of the statistics that the key people who's viewing, right, my videos, 100% of the views, not 99.9, 100% is coming between the ages of 25 and 34. And that says a lot to me, because the brain matures completely by the age of 25. People can start thinking long term about the future, developing themselves, long term planning. All this aspect of the brain usually matures by the age of 25. So it's not surprising that the starting age where people are interested in the yoga sciences, which is designed to evolve your consciousness, evolve you intellectually, evolve you psychologically, emotionally, and physiologically and spiritually, right? This is what it is. To the level where I believe that you're gonna combine everything, that there's not going to be a separate mind, a separate intellect, separate body, and a separate soul. Everything intermerges and transforms into one, and transforms into the deathless body, which we call the deathless body, right? Theoretically, is my opinion what it is, right? So we're coming to that level, right? And so forth. And so there's various platforms, there's various things that I'm trying to angle and trying to reach out to as many people as possible, right? To be able to capture the people, that more and more people should start practicing, and they are already practicing, right? One percentage is growing, younger people. And then why 35? Why 34? After the age of 34? Because it's a symptom of the disease and the illness of the current day. Current day, the biggest illness, biggest disease is stress, anxiety, depression, loneliness, right? And chronic anxiety. Suicide is on the increase. Decade upon decade is the growth curve is alarming for suicide, right? Why? Because of inflammation. Inflammatory mark. A lot of people have different theories. My theory is because of a lack of sleep. Because 50 years ago, when there was no television and so forth, people were going to bed at 8, right? and children were going to bed. I'm not that old, right? I know I'm old, but I'm not that. I'm 57 years old now. So I have children, younger children to adult children, right? When my adult children were small, this is now more than 25 years ago, right? They used to go to bed, they were like 5, 6 years old. They used to go to bed at 5 p.m. And we as adults used to go to bed at 8, 9 o'clock, right? My wife used to go to bed by 8, 9 o'clock. I was the only night owl that used to go to bed like after midnight. And that used to be like a very rare phenomenon, someone sleeping like, after midnight. It was a rare phenomenon. And when I was going to school, I didn't know of anyone that was going regularly and daily to bed after midnight, except myself, right? And now, who do you know that's not going to bed before? They're not going, to bed after. But everyone is doom scrolling, right? And obviously, when you're having less than 8 to 9 hours of sleep, minimum 7 to 9 hours, preferably 9 hours, and I believe 14 to 16 hours is what is rumored that Einstein used to sleep regularly, 14 to 16 hours. So why not we follow that? Because it's not possible to live a normal life living 14 to 16 hours. So they don't want to popularize that rumor, right? So that's why it's like so much a rumor, not a known, overwhelming, evidential fact, right? But scientifically, 7 to 9 hours is the minimum, right? Red line is 6 hours, a red line. Below 6 hours, in an emergency, you can go down to 6 hours. That you have to burn the midnight oil, you're writing an examination next day, you got a deadline to meet, you have a paper to write, you have a presentation to do. Okay, 6 hours in the red line case, not less than that, because it shortens the telomeres. It's what's it doing? It directly influencing your inflammatory condition. I believe this is a massive contributor to inflammation, obesity, stress, anxiety. Because I once saw a photo of the 1950s. People were walking around. There were no fat people there in that photo. They're walking around, and we could see various shops, and in the display was pastries and cakes and breads and all very carbohydrate rich. Now people are going to a keto diet. If you're going to eat that type of diet, you're going to go into, even if you don't have an inflammation disorder, you're going to get an inflammation disorder. So what is the problem beyond 35? By that time the inflammation is already serious in them, and they're already into anxiety, tiredness, exhaustion, stress, loneliness. When you are in that flight of fight, right? Fight or flight state, right? And you are in a state of fear, and your sympathetic system is fully engaged, right? And you're highly stressed. You can't think of sitting down calmly and closing your eyes and meditating and let's do some breath work. That's the last thing. You are in a panic. You don't know how you're going to make ends meet. Your income is not enough. You're barely able to make your rent. You got multiple loans. You got your standard student loans from the banks and other private loans, and you got so many credit card debt, and your car is on finance, and the place you bought is through the bank, and who owns properties cash these days. And are you surprised that people are struggling to go into relationships, not having relationships? So after the age of 35, people are the stress is overtaking them, right? And this is who it's meant for. So while you're still young, and you are able to, your natural system was able to fight the level of decline. You still haven't declined fully, right? On a substantive level. Between the ages of 25 and 35 is the only narrow window that we have to target our current generation, the current audiences, people. Our hope is in your hands. The 25 to 35 years, the ones, once you're over 35, very small, because let's work with statistics, right? Very small fraction of people are inclined towards it. Yes, I mean, I'm doing this for decades. I'm an anomaly, right? But generally, statistically speaking, our hope is going to lie in the 25 to 35-year-old group. So I'm on this mission to simplify these protocols and calling out to you guys, please sleep. Please don't reach 35 and you're going to be all stressed out, right? By the age of 35, you're still single and your biological clock is ticking and you can't afford to to purchase even a studio apartment. And how are you even going to think of getting married and building a family, and where's the family going to grow? Before all that stress, start sleeping, because you now have the tool of AI that can help you to solve the problems which you couldn't solve before AI came. To solve this economy problem, we can potentially use, the power of AI to create a new golden age, right? Why not? We can do things so much faster, quicker, and easier, and we can solve things so much easier. So why not solve the problem of our economy, right? Countries are going deeper and deeper into debt, right? Yes, we say, okay, first world countries, but they're going deeper and deeper. Let's look at how much of money what is the national debt, right? DEBT debt. It's growing, it's alarming. Okay, people's lifestyle is increasing, the income is increasing, you know, in certain countries compared to other countries, but what is generally happening is sliding. We need to solve the problem, or eventually the problem is going to crash everything. There's going to be a massive crash that let's avoid that, right? So coming back to this argument, the original thing, self-realization, the self is Brahman, is God. Come on, right? 21st. Put it another. Okay, let's be diplomatic. Put it in another way, that we from the 21st century, and I'm including myself with my fellow 25 to 35-year-olds, or 25 to 34-year-olds, as the statistics showed. 35, you're already out. 0%, right? Maximum 34. From 35 is 0% watching my thousands of videos, over 1,000 videos. I'm saying, put it in a way that's acceptable to the majority. Don't put it in the same way, right? So yes, we respect the Buddha is 2,500 years ago. Can we not find a newer way of doing things that's adapted for the 21st century? That's why my yoga is something that's designed for the 21st century. I'm not following a system. Even my students say, what system of yoga do I teach? I don't know. It's not Raja Yoga. It's not based on Patanjali, because some things he say is outdated for this day. Say it's like a mixture, right? So when I wrote this book, and then I had to find a phrase, because I had to find a phrase, right? So I found Scientific Yoga Series, book 1. So I say, okay, now let's call it scientific yoga. Right? Let's do the practices scientific. Let's call it scientific religions, right? Let's put it. Let the bar be science, not to deny, but to say beyond this we don't know, but within this what we know. Hypotheses, speculation, that which cannot be proven, right? Because we've proven a lot already, right? And certain things is not going to wash anymore. We're not sending. The time when Patanjali created the Yoga Sutras, this was estimated around 2000 to 2. It's very. Some people say 1,500 to 1,900 years ago. Some people assert it's 200 years before Christ. Some people say approximately 2,000 years ago. Whatever the case, in those days they were sending messages with pigeons, right? And what are the level we reached now, right? So come on, right? We should have a different way. Patanjali, and even Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad and all these people in the eras that they were in, they spoke to the people of their time, and the time we are in now, they can't relate to this time, right? So we're not disrespecting them, that their status or anything, right? And we're not pushing back. I'm a person who's religious. I'm not an atheist, right? But still, we have to use science as a measuring tool. Otherwise, we're getting scammed left, right, and center, right, by unscrupulous people. Protect yourself from it. So hope you understand what I'm saying, and not taking offense, but someone has to talk in a certain way, right? And it may come across as offensively, but I don't intend to offend. I intend a healthy discussion. So I'm not coming and saying you're talking nonsense. I'm saying, come on, put it in a way that I can swallow, right? So take care of yourself always, right? Remember, take care of numero uno. Before you take care of the world, take care of others, take care of yourself, right? This is what these things are. If you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of others? How are you going to take care of your own future? How are you going to take care of your relationships and your own career if you don't take care of yourself, your health, your state of mind? When I say yourself, I mean your body, your mind, your knowledge levels, right? You have to adapt, increase your knowledge. Those who adapt and start learning how to utilize AI, to the advantage, is going to be more successful, right? Statistically speaking, and I can already see it. I embraced it immediately. As soon as I saw AI, I loved it from first sight, and I'm not getting threatened because I do a deep dive on my videos. There is no audio that I'm creating by AI that is independent, so I only make a deep dive on my existing originals, right? So this much is because I've got a lot of old videos that I'm doing deep dives on, and if you listen to the old videos, I understand it, but AI is putting it in a manner that everyone else can understand. In a 21st century perspective, which is my goal, and I'm not feeling threatened by it. I'm feeling it as an amazing tool and an amazing partner. Well done. If it's going to take over all my knowledge, and have no need for me, touche, I've achieved my goal, because I want to be of benefit to everyone, right? And if something comes about and benefits everyone, and I no longer have to, bring my perspective, okay, I am a human, and I can think in a way that AI cannot think. I can think out of the box. AI can only think within parameters of programming, right? And I can do lateral thinking. I can think out of the box. And I can think of an idea that was never existing before. A brand new idea and a brand new methodology that, yes, AI is clever. They can solve problems that science couldn't solve for, this thing. Yes, okay, they've got that. That's why we partner. We become a symbiotic relationship. Let's learn to adapt in a new. When I lost my eyesight, I didn't go crazy. Oh, I can't see anymore. Yes, I am now a completely blind person for 3 years. Why I didn't? I said, now doesn't mean I'm dead. The earthworm is blind, right? It's living. It found its own way out to live. The mole is blind. It found its own. The mole not all going and saying, oh, I am blind. No, there's a different way. Yes, I can't just go for a walk now, right? When I feel like, and I used to love walking, right? Okay, that's out of. So let me not think about the things that I can't do, and figure out the things that I think I can't. How can I find a way how to do it? And if not, how can I do things in a different way? So am I not working now? Yes, I'm working. I'm creating content. I'm creating content across, massive amounts of content across 4 major platforms, the Spotify and Apple podcast platform, the YouTube platform, the blogging platform, right, which a lot of people forget about, but there is a niche that loves blogging, right? And also the Kindle platform, right? This is Amazon, YouTube. These are giants, right? In the world, and the blogging is based on the Google platform, right? Google, right, is a giant, and now Spotify is becoming a major new up and coming giant, right? I'm aligning myself with them, and I'm not using one AI. I'm using multiple AI. I'm using the big the big the big three, right? Those of you who don't know the big three, right? It's now becoming common knowledge. Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude. Claude, the newcomer to the big three. Yes, there is XAI, right? Grok, and there is Kimi. There's the other DeepSeek and Perplexity, and Microsoft Copilot, And I use them as well, right? I've used them. I've got them all there, and I do, refer to them because sometimes I get an opinion. I can double check it, with another one and so forth. But I'm becoming comfortable and got used to dealing with all of them. I formed an understanding of how to deal with them. So you have to learn to adapt, and enhance our lives to the 21st century. So I hope that information helps you. Again, take care of yourself always. And until next time.